Welcome to the Fab Female Nutrition Podcast, episode 162. Hey there, I'm your host Wendy Hill, and I'm a nutritional therapist and expert in female hormone health. I specialise in helping women gain confidence and understanding their bodies, allowing them to shine. This podcast allows me to share the knowledge I've built up, along with bringing you guest experts to support you in your journey. So hey guys, how are we doing this week? So we are well into October, and I'm bringing you an episode this week, and we're talking about hunger. When were you last hungry? When did you actually last feel hunger? I have had clients in the past who have been afraid to feel hungry, that they eat extremely regimented to make sure that they never actually feel hungry. Now, modern society as well doesn't really help with that either, because the second that you might have a little bit of do I feel a little bit hungry? You can immediately have access pretty much wherever you are to some kind of food substance. Even if it's just a milky coffee, a latte or something, that, guys, is actually food. So, that kind of rumbling feeling in your stomach, slight discomfort if you don't eat straight away, that's actually what you should be feeling before you eat. Let's talk about leptin first, so you understand what leptin is. So leptin is a hormone, so one of our many hormones. So we've got about 50 hormones in the body. And remember, hormones, we talk about hormones all the time. We often talk about sex hormones on this podcast. But a hormone is basically just a messenger signal. They are produced in certain parts of their bodies, and they generally send messages to our brain or other parts of the body. So they're produced in one place and then they act in a different part. And leptin is created in our fat cells. And the idea, or the job, the idea, it does have a job. I'm not creating a job for it. The job of leptin is that it is supposed to tell our body either whether we have enough fat cells or we don't have enough fat cells. So if there's a certain amount of leptin because we have that leptin from the fat cells, then our body goes, we're okay, we have enough fat, we can survive. Because our natural mechanism through evolution is that we eat, we store fat until we need it, and then we take the fat away and we eat some more to store some more fat. That's our natural evolutionary way, so that we could eat in times of abundance and then utilize those fat stores in times of starvation. And I've said this many, many times on this podcast, and I will say it again. When was the last time you were hungry? We don't have that starvation anymore because we have constant access to food. So our body's evolution isn't necessarily working in our benefit anymore. And this is part of the problem. Now, we have been encouraging our body from the moment we probably went to school, if not before then. We've been ignoring those signals. We've been eating foods when we are not hungry. And not only that, and this I think is the main issue, is the food industry has managed to create foods that allow us to override those signals. They have that perfect sweet, salty, fatty combination. They've spent millions of pounds. And so you will sit at home with that massive bag of Pringles or chocolate or whatever it is that floats your boat and eat it to excess. And you are therefore ignoring your leptin signals. So you need to start listening to your body and getting back into kind of a signal. If you're not listening to your body, it just becomes a vicious cycle. So let's have some practical solutions, shall we, Wendy? Thank you for telling me all about leptin resistance and what it is and why it might be making me eat more than I should do, eat more than my husband, who clearly needs more food than me. What can we do? So firstly, recognize that it's not going to change overnight. And then there are some really, really simple things you can do. So I would say first one is eat real food. Okay, food filled with nutrients. I've just told you that processed foods are driving the way we are managing to eat foods that we just don't want and we don't need, and eating more than we need to is part of that, the processed food, the way they can manage to override that. So eating less of that food is going to be less likely for you to eat it. If you sit here honestly and say, can you overeat a plate of broccoli, sprouts and salmon, then you might be able to, but it is harder than it is to overeat on Pringles and whatever it is that you like, Haribos and chocolate biscuits or whatever it might be. So that's one of the first things is, kind of concentrating on eating real food so that you are actually fueling your body as well with nutrients rather than just empty calories, which then drives the weight gain, which drives the fat store, which drives the leptin. So if you're actually eating nutrients, it's going to be better for you. Simple. Okay, the second one is stop snacking between meals. You are not hungry. You do not need to be constantly snacking. Get comfortable with feeling a little bit hungry from time to time. Listen to the signals that your body is sending you. Are you eating because you're bored? Are you really hungry? Are you thirsty? Really listen to those signals and only eat if you are hungry, not just because it's 11 o'clock and you always have a chocolate biscuit at 11 o'clock. Get that balance back. Eat smaller portions. So if you're finding that you can't, you don't know when to stop, actually portion control yourself. Get a plate, put what you know is a sensible amount of food on that plate and only eat that, and just stop when that is done. And if you do that along with the stopping snacking and eating real food, you will find that you will be eating less. I could keep on eating constantly. Just don't. Now there has been some really cool studies, and one in particular where they took some people who had excess levels of they measured the levels of leptin and found that they were excessive levels, and they took one group of people and gave them a sort of a healthier diet, tried to manage it through dietary change, and then another group of people where they did exercise and a dietary change, and they had much better results in those that exercised and had the dietary changes. So exercise along with those changes in diet have the most significant effect and will help you have a quicker response. So if you start eating better, stop snacking, watch your portion control, get some sleep and get some exercise, you've nailed it, guys. How easy was that? So next week, I'm doing a menopause-specific podcast, so I'm going to release it on World Menopause Day. I am making absolutely no excuses in the fact that next week, the podcast, I am going to be talking about the symptoms and signs of menopause, because people still ask me every single day, am I in menopause? What are the signs? Is this part of menopause? So I'm going to be talking about it again. I did this last year on Menopause Day, and I'm going to be doing it again this year. I will be talking differently and packaging it up differently. So hopefully you will learn some new things, but I am going to be talking about it again. So please do join me, man, woman, whatever your sex is, you need to know about menopause, because it will either affect you directly as a person or directly through the people that you love, that you spend time with. So the more you know about it, the more we can help each other. That is it from me this week. I will see you next week. Thanks for listening. Thank you for watching this excerpt of this week's Fab Female Nutrition podcast. If you'd like to listen to the full episode, then the link is in the notes below.